Lonely CEO heartbreakingly discovers little girls touching Plea, can you be my daddy forever? Jack sat high above the city in his sleek office, staring at the skyline that glittered like a dream. Beneath the crisp lines of his tailored suit lay a heart heavy with loneliness. The walls of his luxury home echoed with silence, a stark contrast to the vibrant life he had built, a thriving tech startup, countless accolades, and wealth that seemed never-ending. Yet, his latest trophy was a faded memory of what once was, a marriage crumbling like dry leaves underfoot. On this sunny Saturday, he felt a flicker of something. Maybe a need to connect with the world outside his glass fortress. Armed with a sense of duty, he headed to the local community center, a bustling place filled with laughter and life. The energy was exhilarating, yet foreign. Here, joy boomed like music from a jukebox, while Jack felt like an outsider glimpsing through a window. That was when he first saw her. Mia, a bright-eyed 7-year-old with wild hair and a shapeless dress that danced as she played. She was a beam of sunshine amidst the shadows of his heart. As he knelt down to tie her shoelaces, her innocent gaze pierced right through him. Can you be my daddy forever? She chirped, her eyes vast and innocent, searching. His chest tightened. Memories rushed back his own childhood, the warmth of family, the safety of belonging. Can you be my daddy forever? Those words struck Jack like lightning. They were so pure, so achingly hopeful, yet burdened with the weight of everything he was missing in his life. What kind of man was he, wielding power and accolades, but lacking the warmth of a family? As their unlikely friendship blossomed, Jack discovered the stark realities of Mia's world, a world where children yearned for stability and love while navigating the uncertainty of foster care. Her laughter, ringing like chimes in the quiet of his heart, filled a void he never quite knew existed. But each joyous moment reminded him of the chasm between them. His luxury, her need, his loneliness, her innocence. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But fighting for Mia's future was fraught with challenges. The whispers of neighbors followed him like a bad smell. They scrutinized him, painted him an outsider trying to change their well-protected suburban enclave. Nonetheless, Jack stood firm. He stepped into the ring, leveraging his resources to rally the community around Mia's plight. Their responses varied: pride, envy, and even outright anger filled the air like smoke, emotions twisted like a pretzel in Jack's gut. Could he truly take on the responsibility of being a father figure? As tensions simmered and tempers flared, he grappled with the expectation: was he worthy enough? Standing at that crossroads, would he continue to fight for Mia, or retreat back into his gilded cage of success? Just as he was about to make a monumental decision, a confrontation erupted among community members. Voices rose in angry decibels, leaving the room buzzing with uncertainty and anxiety. Jack's heart raced. He could feel the weight of the moment, so heavy, so pivotal. Would love cross the boundaries of judgment, or would it be drowned by fear? Jack's heart thundered in his chest as he surveyed the chaos unfolding around him. The once buzzing community center had turned into a battlefield of hurt feelings and sharp words. Neighbors shouted over each other, that familiar sense of community twisted into a web of doubt and accusation. He doesn't belong here, one voice blared. He'll take her away from us, another chimed in. Each word felt like a stone hurled towards him, weighing heavily on his resolve. Mia, oblivious to the storm, sat cross-legged on the floor, her small hands playing with the fraying edges of her dress. She glanced up at Jack, her innocent eyes still hopeful, still filled with a flicker of trust that he wished he could grab onto. "Are you okay?" she asked. The sweetness of her voice broke through the noise, bringing the focus back to her, the very essence of their connection. In that moment, Jack realized the fight wasn't just for Mia, it was for her future and for his own redemption. Enough! He finally shouted, his voice slicing through the chaos. The crowd paused, their eyes shifting toward him, hesitant. The air was thick with anticipation. Jack took a deep breath, his mind racing. Mia deserves a chance. A real chance. She deserves love, safety, and a place where she can grow. Can't you see that instead of focusing on what I am or where I come from? The silence that followed was deafening. For a moment, he thought perhaps, just perhaps, he could forge a connection that might change everything. That a woman stepped forward, her arms crossed tightly over her chest. And how can we trust you? You're just some rich guy looking to play a hero. This isn't a charity case. Her challenge sparked murmurs of agreement, but Jack stood his ground. It's not about being a hero, he answered, his voice steady now. It's about acknowledging that we all have our battles. I am not here to save Mia, I want to stand with her. The only thing I can offer is my commitment to be there for her. I want to be present, to listen and learn. Jack felt the glimmer of hope flicker like a candle in the dark as he looked toward Mia. She was still watching him, still believing. The room was frozen, holding its breath, as he stood there, vulnerable but determined. But before the crowd could respond, an older man at the back raised a hand. What if you leave? What if you get bored and just walk away? His voice dripped with skepticism, igniting more backlash from the others. We've seen too many come and go. How do we know you won't forget her? Jack clenched his fists, aware of the cracks in their faith. I can't promise I'll never fail, but I promise I will always try. I'll fight for her and every child who needs someone. All I ask for is the chance to prove it. As the murmurs buzzed again, some softened with consideration, others simmered with doubt. Every heartbeat felt like a wager, every breath a prayer. Jack wasn't just fighting for Mia anymore, he was fighting for change, for a community to open their eyes and their hearts. But just when it seemed they might begin to listen, the room's energy shifted. Suddenly, a commotion broke out as the doors flew open and a newcomer stormed in. Tension crackled in the air. Who was this unexpected figure? With his heart pounding louder than ever, Jack braced himself. Would this newcomer bring hope or further challenge the fragile connection he was trying to build with Mia and the community? The figure stepped through the door, a whirlwind of energy. It was a woman, her long hair swinging around her shoulders like a banner. Her eyes glimmered with intensity, every step purposeful as if she had a mission. Jack's heart raced at the sight, knowing the gravity of the moment. The murmuring crowd quieted as the woman scanned the room, her gaze landing on Jack and Mia. What is going on here? She demanded, her voice commanding and assertive. Jack felt the pressure of her stare, and in that instant, he sensed both hope and dread. She looked like someone who would not shy away from conflict. Who are you? Someone from the back shouted, breaking through the gathering tension. I'm Elise, she replied without hesitation. And I've been following this case. I'm here because I care about kids like Mia. She stepped further inside, the energy of the room shifting with her presence. Jack saw the flicker of recognition in Mia's eyes, as if she understood that this woman had arrived to help. Maybe she was an ally, someone who could help bridge the chasm between him and the community. What makes you think you know what's best for Mia? Came another voice. The tone dripped with suspicion, but Elise stood tall, unfazed. I know enough, she replied, her voice strong like a thunderclap. I've seen children rot in foster homes, forgotten and neglected just because everyone thinks they know better. I won't stand by while this little girl's future is gambled on petty fears. The room was a cauldron of fierce emotions, confusion written all over faces sharpened with worry. Jack felt a flicker of connection spark between him and Elise. They were both outsiders wanting to stand for Mia, to break the chain of hurt. Exactly. Jack chimed in, feeding off her fire. Mia needs people who are willing to put her first, to fight for her even if they don't belong to the same background. Elise turned to him, a spark of understanding flashing in her eyes. "And you're willing to do that?" "I'm here to prove it, but I can't do it alone," Jack replied, his voice steadying with each word. Some murmurs of agreement rippled through the room, but uncertainty still lingered. A man in the back stood up, shaking his head. "You think we're gonna just trust you? One rich guy passing through?" Passion punctuated his voice, resonating with a handful of nodding heads. Jack's brows furrowed as he faced the crowd again. "Trust is earned, but it starts with listening," he said softly, looking down at Mia, who was still cradling her dress like a fragile treasure. "And with opening our hearts for a child who only wants love. Can you even do that?" Elise asked suddenly, turning her focus back to Jack. Before he could answer, Mia stood, her little voice breaking through the unease. "Can you be my daddy forever?" Her question hung in the air, sweet yet heavy with expectation. Gasps erupted, and Jack's heart seized as every eye turned to him, waiting for a response. Mothers held their children tighter, trying to shield them from what's out there even as innocence stood before them, asking for hope. Jack felt the weight of the world on his shoulders. Did he dare to embrace that title? Did he have what it took? He glanced at Mia, her wide, hopeful eyes reflecting pure trust. In that moment, he knew he could not turn away. "I promise, I will try my hardest," he declared, every ounce of sincerity pouring from him. "That's all I can offer." Elise stepped closer to him, her expression softening slightly. "That's a start, Jack, but it won't be easy." Tension swirled and crackled like static electricity in the air. Would the community accept his promise? Would they believe in his ability to change? As the whispers began again, Jack braced himself, feeling both hope and uncertainty swirling inside him. And just as he opened his mouth to offer more words of assurance, he noticed the door behind Elise creaking open again. A new figure stood there, silhouetted against the dim light, a guardian of the past or a threat to the fragile future he hoped to build. Jack's pulse quickened. What could this mean for Mia? Would it shake the foundation they were trying to build? The room fell silent, the gentle creaking of the door echoing like a gunshot. All eyes darted to the figure standing in the doorway. Jack felt his heart race as the shadow took shape, revealing a tall man with a weathered face. He looked stern, with deep lines etched into his forehead, a man marked by the weight of burdens once borne. This new arrival was not just any stranger but someone Jack recognized. It was Tom, Mia's biological father, the very man whose sudden disappearance months ago had left a vacancy no one could fill. The tension thickened like fog, wrapping around each of them, drawing in the whispers and suppressing breaths. "What are you doing here?" Elisa's voice cut through the silence, fierce and protective. She stepped forward as if to shield Mia from any potential harm. Tom's eyes flickered between the gathering crowd and the small girl standing beside Jack. Mia's face lit up with an emotion Jack could hardly read. Was it fear, recognition, or both? Whatever it was, it felt like a crack splitting the fragile moment they had just begun to build. "I want to see my daughter," Tom declared, his voice cracking but steady. "I came to bring her home." Jack's breath hitched. Home. Did that mean the chaotic world Mia had come from? He looked down at her, her small body still clutching her dress, as if it were her only anchor in this storm. "Home." Elise echoed, her eyes narrowing at Tom. "After all this time, you decide to show up. What kind of home could you possibly offer her?" Tom took a cautious step inside, his gaze never leaving Mia. "I know I messed up. I know I wasn't there. But I've changed. I'm trying to fix things." Mia's eyes grew wide, sparkling with hope, yet threaded with anxiety. Jack felt a protective instinct surge within him. He couldn't let her be swept back into a life that had already hurt her too deeply. "Fix things?" Jack challenged, stepping forward. His voice was firm, steady. "You think it's that easy? You walked away from her when she needed you the most. You don't get to just walk back in and call it home. And who the hell are you? Tom shot back, his voice rising, mixing anger with confusion. Some guy from the city trying to save the day? Jack stood taller, defiance flowing through him. No. I'm someone who is here because she needs a chance. Because she needs stability, love, a family. Something you clearly didn't give her. With every word, Jack could feel the small tight-knit community around him shift. Some nodded, while others looked wary, gauging if they should side with this family member who had returned a ghost from the past or with this newcomer who spoke of love with conviction. Soft, but still trembling, Mia's voice broke through the storm. "Daddy?" she whispered, pointing her tiny finger toward Tom. The one word held more weight than any argument could ever muster. Jack's heart sank, watching the confusion unfurl on her delicate features. Did Mia believe in the myth of a father returning to save the day? The crowd held its breath, spectating a battle that felt as ancient as time itself. Jack's gaze darted between the two men and the little girl torn between them. "Can you be my daddy forever?" she finally repeated, her innocence catching them all off guard. Tom took a step forward, his eyes softening at the sound of her words. Jack felt as though the room was spinning, reality crashing down around him. Could Tom really change? How could Mia ever truly feel safe with a man who had abandoned her once before? Just then, a voice emerged from the crowd, steadying and soothing. "This is about Mia, people. She deserves a chance at happiness, wherever that may come from." Jack turned, searching for the voice, feeling his own resolve harden. This moment was becoming bigger than himself, bigger than any single person in this room. Before he could respond, a hand grasped his shoulder. It was Elise. "This isn't over yet, Jack," she reminded him firmly. The intensity in her eyes gave him strength. As Tom's gaze met Jack's, an unspoken challenge hung thick in the air between the two. They both knew it wasn't just about love anymore, it was about fighting for Mia's future. In that moment, Jack resolved to do everything in his power to ensure Mia felt safe and cherished. But he couldn't shake the feeling that Tom's return was just the beginning of a much darker chapter, one that might threaten everything they were trying to build. Facing the man who had walked away from his responsibilities, Jack took a deep breath. If you want a chance to be part of her life, you'll have to fight like hell for it. The gauntlet had been thrown. Would Tom rise to the occasion or succumb to the shadows he had created? Jack had to know, but the answer was buried deeper than he could reach. And as the two men stood staring each other down, Mia tugged at Jack's sleeve, her trust in him stronger than ever. Would her innocence survive the struggle ahead? The air crackled with tension, and Jack asked himself, how far was he willing to go to protect her? Tom stood there, visibly shaken, as the weight of Mia's question hung in the air. Jack felt every breath in the room. He could sense the uncertainty and fear swirling around them, and he could practically hear the thoughts racing through Tom's mind. Forever. Tom whispered, as if the word had struck him like a physical blow. Mia's small hands clutched her dress tightly, her eyes wide and searching. It was in that moment Jack saw the little girl he had grown to care for, the one who had brought light back into his life after the darkness of loss. But right now, that light flickered as if caught in a sudden gust of wind. "Tom, you can't say that without meaning it," Jack interjected, his voice steadier than he felt. "You left her before. You can't just waltz back in and expect her to forget." Elise stepped closer to Mia, creating a barrier both emotional and physical between her and Tom. "You can't toy with her feelings. She's been through enough." Mia looked up at her mother, her little brow furrowed in confusion. "Mommy? What's wrong?" The encounter had unraveled into a storm of emotions. Jack glanced at Elise, who wore a fierce look of determination. They both understood how crucial it was to protect Mia from any more hurt. Tom took a deep breath and managed to speak, his voice trembling. "I never meant for any of this to happen. I was scared. But I don't want to hurt her anymore." "Scared?" Jack scoffed. You think that's enough? You think being scared justifies abandoning your daughter? She's the one who bore the scars of your absence. Tom dropped his gaze, shame washing over him as the reality of his mistake settled like gravel in the pit of his stomach. I know I messed up. I did things I regret. But I've changed. I want to prove that to her. The words hung in the air like a challenge. Jack narrowed his eyes and leaned in closer. Prove it? You mean showing up isn't enough? You have to show her that you can be trusted. Mia's small voice piped up again. Daddy, I missed you. Jack felt his heart break at her words. It was a testament to her innocence and belief in the good, even when faced with the harsh realities of life. He looked at her, this brave little girl who had been through so much, and made a silent promise to protect her. Tom, Jack continued, his tone softening yet firm, what are you willing to do? It's not about you. It's about what she needs now. What do you mean? Tom's brow furrowed further. Prove it to all of us. Not just words, but actions. He glanced at Mia, who watched intently. Show us that you're here to stay, that you'll fight for her every single day. The silence stretched, everyone caught in their own web of thoughts. Tom seemed to shrink against the barrage of expectations thrown at him. Yet something shifted in his expression, a flicker of determination ignited by Jack's challenge. I'll do it, he finally said, resolving to uncover the conviction buried beneath layers of regret. I will fight for her. I promise. Mia smiled tentatively, and even though it tugged at Jack's heart, he wasn't quite ready to let his guard down. There was so much left unsaid, so much at stake. Before Jack could respond, Elise spoke again, action speaks louder than words, Tom. Don't think you can charm your way back into her life just because it sounds good. Behind them, murmurs split the crowd. Some started to turn away, disbelieving, while others leaned in, curious. The room pulsed with complexity. As Tom met Jack's gaze again, an unspoken question lingered. Would the man slowly stepping back into Mia's life truly embrace this second chance, or would he once again prove to be the ghost that haunted her? Jack felt the tension shift, an unyielding determination rising in him. We'll see who you really are, Tom. And I'll be watching. Mia's happiness matters the most now. With that, he looked down at Mia, the light of hope glimmering in her eyes, tugging at his sleeve once more. The battle lines had been drawn, and there was no retreat. But as Jack stared at the man who had once failed his daughter, he couldn't ignore the unsettling feeling that lingered, a nagging doubt that this was only the beginning of a far deeper struggle. What would it take for Tom to prove he was worthy of that title? And how much longer could Mia hold on to her innocence as old ghosts threatened to resurface? Jack braced himself for the unlikely journey ahead, asking himself what loyalties would be tested and what sacrifices might unfold. Tom took a shaky step backward, feeling the weight of the eyes on him. This wasn't just any audience, it was the judgment of the people who had become Mia's protectors. He felt small, and he wasn't sure he was ready for the fight Jack had laid before him. Mia's eyes sparkled with hope, a connection between them that tugged painfully at his heartstrings. She wanted him, she believed in him. But what if he let her down again? Okay, Tom nodded, trying to gather his scattered thoughts. What do I do first? His voice wavered, unsure now. Jack crossed his arms. Start by being present. Show her that you want to be in her life. Plan outings, spend time with her, and be there for the milestones big and small. It might not happen overnight, but she needs to see your commitment. Tom absorbed that, nodding slowly. I can do that. I will do that. Elise chimed in, remember, Tom, it's not just about you trying to win her love. It's about regaining trust. The moment you slip, the moment you let her down again, she won't forget it. Mia, still holding on to a thread of innocence, raised her tiny hand, can we go to the park? I like the swings. Jack couldn't help but smile at her optimism, how she shone even in this messy situation. We'll see what your daddy has to say about that. Tom's heart raced. A simple outing to the park felt monumental. He didn't want to mess this up, but he also didn't want to let fear control him again. Of course, he managed to reply, feeling a flicker of determination. I'd love to take you to the park, Mia. Can we have ice cream too? She asked, her eyes lighting up. Tom grinned, a spark of joy bubbling inside him. Absolutely. Ice cream is a must. But as Mia leapt up, clapping her hands in excitement, Jack's gaze bore into Tom like a spotlight. No empty promises now, Tom. Take this seriously. The moment felt charged, the air between them crackled with the possibilities for hope, for hurt, for healing. Tom nodded, the weight of Jack's words pressing heavily upon him. I swear I will, Jack, he said, his voice steadying. I want to do this the right way. Back at home later that evening, Tom sat alone in his dimly lit living room, the echoes of Mia's laughter replaying in his mind. A flood of emotions hit him: fear, hope, regret. Always regret. Had he already made a mistake? Each unsealed moment from now on would be crucial. He picked up his phone, fingers hovering over the screen. He wanted to reach out to Mia, to share more about his own life, maybe even introduce her to things he loved. But what if she didn't care? What if he pushed too hard? He remembered Jack's words again, trust isn't given, it's earned. That was a bitter pill to swallow. How could he turn these promises into actions that mattered? As he tossed his phone aside in frustration, he caught a glimpse of his reflection in the window. The man staring back looked haunted. The uncertainty clung to him like a damp blanket. He was prepared to fight but doubted he had the strength to sustain that fight. Could a weekend outing ease the tension? Could it cultivate something real between him and Mia? He rubbed his temples, trying to shake the thoughts away. The stakes had never felt higher, yet the road ahead promised transformation if only he had the courage to walk it. Miles away, Jack watched the sunset from his porch, thoughts swimming in his head about Tom's choices. He hoped for Mia's sake, but an unsettling feeling knotted in his stomach. What if Tom didn't change? What if this was just another charade? As the last rays of sunlight dipped below the horizon, Jack made a silent vow to himself. He wouldn't let Mia get hurt again, not if he could help it, but could he truly guard her against a father desperate for redemption? And what would redemption look like in a world that felt fragmented? The dawn of a new fight unveiled ahead, and both men stood at the beginning of something neither fully understood, yet. Tom woke up the next morning with a sense of urgency buzzing in his chest. Today held the weight of possibility and fear all wrapped up in a single outing. He had promised Mia the park, and he couldn't let her down. The sun streamed through his window, illuminating the remnants of doubt and regret still simmering beneath his resolve. He shuffled into the kitchen, the air fragrant with coffee. As the brew dripped, he pulled out a piece of paper and pen, jotting down ideas for their day together. He thought of games to play, spots to explore, and little conversations that might bring them closer. A smile crossed his face as he wrote, picturing Mia's delighted expression at each surprise. The phone buzzed, shaking him from his thoughts. It was a message from Jack, ready for today. Remember, this is a big deal. The weight of his friend's concern was tangible, but instead of feeling pressured, Tom felt determination swell inside him. He texted back, absolutely. I won't screw this up. After a quick shower and a few shuffles around the apartment, he grabbed a baseball cap, sneakers, and an oversized backpack stuffed with snacks. He could already hear Mia's laughter echoing in the playful breeze of his imagination. Arriving at the park felt like stepping onto a stage. Families buzzed around him, children darting past, their voices mingling in joyous chaos. He spotted Mia almost instantly, swinging her legs from the edge of the swing set. She was the picture of unrestrained excitement, beaming brightly like a sunbeam in a cloudy sky. Daddy! You made it! She called out, jumping from the swing and running toward him with open arms. Tom knelt, enveloping her in an embrace that both melted and fortified his resolve. "I wouldn't miss it for the world, kiddo." The feeling felt electric, as if that simple hug was igniting something forgotten in his heart. As they wandered through the park, he found himself genuinely enjoying moments he used to take for granted. They laughed together, chased after a frisbee, and shared silly jokes that made Mia burst into infectious giggles. He was pouring his heart into each moment, desperately trying to etch them into his memory. "Can we get ice cream now, Daddy?" she asked, her eyes wide with hope. "Of course. Lead the way." They sat on a bench, ice cream cones in hand. Mia savored her treat, her face smeared with chocolate, an endearing mess that made Tom chuckle. "Daddy," she said between licks, "can you be my daddy forever?" Her innocent question struck him deep. His heart clenched, uncertainty flooding his mind. Forever felt both beautiful and terrifying, the kind of promise that could either heal or hurt. He stammered, the weight of her words pressing heavily upon him. "I want that, Mia. I want to be here for you." Just as he began to sense the warmth of hope replacing anxiety, a familiar figure approached. It was Jack, watching from a distance, concern lining his brow. Tom clenched his jaw, feeling the pressure of impending judgment. "Hey, I went to grab some coffee," Jack called, closing the space between them. But Tom could see it in his eyes, the lingering doubt. Would today be enough? Could he prove himself? Mia waved excitedly at Jack. "Look, Uncle Jack. Daddy and I went to the swings." Tom's heart raced again, but this time it wasn't just fear, it was determination. He wanted to show Jack, to show Mia, and most importantly, to show himself that he could be the father they needed, but as he took a deep breath, ready to dive into this changing chapter, he couldn't ignore the nagging feeling that shadows always lingered where light tried to grow. What would happen if today wasn't enough? That thought simmered in his mind. Would one day really change everything? Or was he only postponing the inevitable? The fight for redemption loomed ahead, and Tom had barely scratched the surface. The real battle was yet to come, swirling in uncertainty like a storm. But could he weather it when the clouds opened up? Tom tried to shake off his doubts as he focused on Mia's infectious joy. She had a way of illuminating the world around her, transforming mundane moments into treasures. Picking up their ice cream cones, he carefully watched her wandering eyes, searching the park for adventure. He felt lighter being with her, as if she was the air he needed to breathe deeply again. "Let's explore those trails over there," Mia exclaimed, pointing to a winding path shaded by tall trees. "Perfect idea, Princess," he replied, grabbing her hand. Together, they ventured down the trail, surrounded by the gentle rustling of leaves and the distant chirping of birds. Each step felt like they were entering an enchanted realm, where worries faded into the background. "Look, Daddy!" Mia shouted, running ahead to a cluster of bright wildflowers. She knelt, inspecting them closely. "Can we pick some for Mommy?" The request prompted a pang of nostalgia, stirring memories of happier times. A tightness formed in Tom's throat, but he swallowed it down. "Sure, let's make a nice bouquet," he said, forcing a smile. As they carefully picked a few flowers, he felt the warmth of hope bubble up again, reminded of the beauty that still existed amid their past sorrows. As they continued through the trails, they came across a small creek. The water sparkled in the sunlight, and Mia gasped in delight. "Can we splash in the water, Daddy?" "Yes. Just a little." He watched as she dashed to the edge, squealing with laughter as she dipped her toes in, water splashing around her. For a moment, Tom stood back, absorbing the scene, her laughter ringing like music against the stillness of nature. "Daddy, come join me," she called, a challenge laced in her excitement. Before he knew it, he was wading in alongside her, the cold water sending shocks of exhilaration through him. They splashed each other, both of them dissolving into fits of laughter. It felt liberating, like a weight had lifted off his shoulders. In that moment, surrounded by laughter and wildflowers, the heavy clouds in his mind dissipated. As they settled onto the creek bank, catching their breath, Tom turned to her. "Mia, do you remember when we used to do this?" She nodded, her eyes wide and filled with innocence. "We're having so much fun today, Daddy." "Yeah, we are," he replied, feeling the warmth spread through him. But lurking beneath that warmth was the reminder of his past, how he had let this slip away for too long. "Why can't we do this every day?" she asked with genuine curiosity, her head tilted slightly as she fixed him with her eager gaze. Tom hesitated. "Well, it's complicated, sweetie. Sometimes grown-ups have to work, but I want you to play with me," she insisted, her enthusiasm unyielding. The innocence in her plea struck him like a lightning bolt. He wanted to be more than just the dad who was physically present. He wanted to be the one she could count on completely, the one who filled her life with joy. "I want that too, Mia. I really do." Just then, Jack arrived, a coffee cup in each hand, and he leaned against a tree, watching them intently. Tom's heart sank slightly, unsure how Jack would perceive this moment of connection. But when Jack smiled, and the tension eased, Tom allowed hope to crawl back. "Looks like you two are having quite the adventure," Jack called out. "Yeah. Daddy's the best," Mia exclaimed, her words echoing with innocence and sincerity. Tom's smile faltered for a split second, as a rush of reality came crashing back. Could he really be the dad she needed? Jack's gaze felt heavy, asking more than just what had happened today. The afternoon slipped into evening, a soft glow painting the sky in pastels. Tom looked at Mia, still dripping from their play, and in that moment he felt the weight of the day, the connection, and the echoes of his past. "Let us do this again soon," he said, his voice thick with emotion. What lay ahead remained uncertain. Would he continue to rise to the occasion or fall back into familiar patterns? As they headed back, shadows danced around them, holding secrets yet to be revealed. In the distance, a storm began to brew, dark clouds gathering over the horizon. Would the storm break, or could joy survive its arrival? Tom felt a swirl of emotions as the clouds loomed closer. They began their walk back under a canopy of fading light, golden rays beginning to yield to an encroaching darkness. Mia clutched her bouquet of wildflowers, her eyes sparkling like the last drops of sunlight that tried desperately to push through the clouds. "Are we going to hurry home, Daddy?" Mia asked innocently, peering up at him with her big, trusting eyes. "Yeah, sweetie," he replied, not quite ready to let their magical moment slip into memory. Just as he started to speed up, a sudden gust sent a chill through the air, rustling the leaves, as if reminding him that time was slipping away. "Hey, can we see the swings first?" she asked, her enthusiasm unwavering even against the thickening gloom. Tom hesitated. The swings were barely a few feet away, but the storm clouds murmured with a certain foreboding. "Mia, it might rain soon, but she wasn't having it. Just for a little bit, please." She bounced on her toes, the wildflowers bobbing in her tiny hands. The way she looked up at him, full of hope and innocence, made it impossible to say no. "All right, just for a few minutes," he sighed, feeling his resolve weaken. They approached the swings, where the soft wood creaked gently in the cool breeze. Tom helped Mia up onto one, their laughter mingling with the sounds of the wind. He pushed her lightly, feeling her joy wash over him, the rhythm of her little squeals taking him momentarily away from his worries. "Higher, Daddy!" she squealed as she soared through the air, her hair flying back like a golden banner. With each push, he felt an unseen barrier crumble. He remembered the days with his wife before the weight of solitude and grief buried him in paperwork and board meetings. "Look at me. I'm flying!" Mia shouted, her laughter illuminating the dimming park around them. "Just like a bird, baby. Just like a bird," he called back, smiling at the carefree magic of childhood unfolding before him. But just as the sun peeked through the clouds for one final burst of brilliance, thunder rumbled in the distance. Tom's heart raced as dark shadows swallowed the playful light. "Okay, time to go," he said firmly, stepping closer to the swing. "Just one more push, Daddy," she pleaded, her eyes wide, filled with an innocence that had the power to melt his heart. As he pushed her one last time, a feeling rushed through him, a deep, unbearable longing to capture this moment forever. Would he ever be the father who could give in to the joy he saw in her? "Can you be my daddy forever?" Mia asked suddenly, as if she had read his thoughts, her voice a sweet, gentle whisper among the encroaching storm. The question struck him deeply. His heart tightened, and his breath caught in his throat. How could he ever promise that with his life in such disarray? Just then, the first raindrop fell. It plopped onto his arm, cool and unexpected, as if nature was demanding an answer. "Let us get you home, Mia," he said hurriedly, his heart pounding louder than the thunder rumbling in the distance. Yet, her eyes stayed locked onto his, waiting, wanting. As he lifted her off the swing and started to walk, he felt a daunting truth weighing on him. Was he ready for that kind of commitment? Could he truly be the dad she envisioned? Storm clouds gathered, but amidst the brewing tempest, her innocent plea hung in the air. Would he find the courage to be that dad she needed, even as chaos threatened to unleash its fury? The rain came down hard, drumming against the pavement as Tom and Mia raced toward the car. Their laughter faded into breathless gasps while they dodged the raindrops, excitement mixing with the raw tension in Tom's heart. Once inside, Mia giggled as Tom turned the windshield wipers to high speed, but his joy quickly faded when he saw the uncertainty in her eyes. "Daddy, are we still going to be okay?" she asked, her small hands clutching the damp wildflowers in her lap, now slightly crushed but still beautiful. There was an innocence in her question that hit him straight in the chest. Tom's throat tightened. How could he offer the kind of reassurance she needed? "Of course, Mia." His voice felt shaky, but he forced a smile, turning on the engine. "We're going to be just fine. I swear." But her eyes held a flicker of doubt, and Tom wished he could turn back time, back to the carefree moments at the park, back to where laughter flowed freely and joy was as easy as a swing in the sun. The thunder echoed in the distance, reminding him how fragile their happiness felt, like the almost broken flowers in her grasp. He drove through the downpour, each raindrop a reminder of the emotional storm brewing within him. There were questions racing in his mind. Was he doing enough? Was yesterday merely a fluke? Could he truly be the father she believed he could be? Thoughts of Jack flooded his mind. The next time they met, Tom would have to prove he was truly invested in Mia's life, more than just a visitor meant to retreat during momentary sunshine. As they pulled into their driveway, the clouds roared above them, and Mia's excitement dimmed into uncertainty. "Can we do it again tomorrow?" she asked, her voice unsure as she looked at him, pleading with those wide eyes. "Please, Daddy. I want more fun days." The weight of her hope hung heavy in the air. "Absolutely," he exclaimed, his heart both swelling and breaking at her enthusiasm. "We'll make it a tradition. Fun days from now on." Her radiant smile broke through the clouds, sending warmth into the frigid atmosphere of doubt clinging to Tom. "Really?" she squeaked, every ounce of hope shining in her voice. He nodded, reaching over to ruffle her hair. "But first, we've got to get you home and dry. How about we make some hot chocolate?" Mia squealed and jumped up and down in her seat, pure joy illuminating the car. As they ran into the house, Tom couldn't shake the feeling that to keep his promise, he needed to ground it in both words and actions. A spark of determination ignited within him. This would be his journey, paved with both challenges and hope. He wanted to be the dad she deserved, a source of strength, joy, and stability. That evening, while they prepared the hot chocolate together, he realized how every shared moment was a building block. Tom's chest swelled watching Mia giggle as she poured in marshmallows. Each time she laughed, it felt like a step forward to warm a heart left out in the cold for too long. As they sat together, mugs in hand, Tom took in how this whole experience was only beginning. "Mia," he said softly, the dim light of the kitchen warming their faces, "I really want to make this work. I'm going to give you everything I've got, I promise." She looked up at him, faith shining in her eyes. You mean you'll always be my daddy forever? Caught off guard, Tom felt the warmth of tears prickling at the corners of his eyes. Mia was brave and trusting, and he needed to be just as brave in return. Yes, little girl. Forever, he affirmed, feeling the word settle deep within him as he made that promise to them both. As days turned into weeks, Tom kept his word. He went above and beyond, showing up at school events, planning weekend adventures, keeping conversations alive. Slowly but surely, the walls he built began to crumble. He wanted Mia to see him as someone reliable, not just an idea of a father, but a real one. One sunny morning, while walking to a community event, Mia tugged his hand and looked up. Daddy, do you think everyone will like you? Tom paused, hearing echoes of doubt, but so much love flowed between them. What do you think? He asked gently, allowing her to explore her feelings. I think they should. You're my daddy and you're really cool. Her eyes sparkled with pride. That was all he needed to hear. As they made their way through the bustling crowd, he took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. With each interaction, smiles exchanged, cautious looks softened. Tom felt more and more confident. He was no longer just trying to earn trust, but genuinely building connections, and then he saw Jack waving from a distance. Tom's heart raced again, nervous yet excited. How could he show Jack that he was serious? He wanted to convey that he would not falter, he would stay committed. Just as the event began, Jack approached, and the tension faded slightly when he noticed the warmth radiating between Tom and Mia. Looks like you're doing well, Jack remarked, his eyes scanning the small family that had formed. As they engaged in conversation, Tom felt the burdens lift off his shoulders. The weight of doubt no longer suffocated him, instead, a belief began to replace his fears. I'm trying my hardest to be the father she needs, he responded honestly. Jack nodded slowly, and in that moment, Tom knew he had earned his first flicker of respect. I've seen it, man, Jack admitted, the corners of his mouth tipping upward. Keep it up. That was the moment, the light at the end of the tunnel. Hope wasn't just a fragile thing anymore, it felt strong and grounded, rooted in connection and love. Tom looked down at Mia, who gleefully waved at a couple of familiar children. She was embodied joy, radiant in a way that made him realize they were both becoming who they needed to be. As laughter and chatter filled the air around them, Tom took Mia's hand again, feeling like this was where they were supposed to be together, not just facing the storms but dancing in the rain. In that beautiful instant, he knew he would continue the fight not for himself, but for her. This was their moment, and their journey had only just begun. Tom smiled, invigorated by the change within him. The promise he made, every word clung to his heart. He would be Mia's forever, come what may. And as the sun peeked through the clouds shining brightly amid the lingering showers, he knew they would weather any storm together. This was just the beginning. Now, it's your turn to step into a new chapter. Don't miss out on the journey ahead. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us grow. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Your thoughts matter to us. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. True fans understand the importance of backing this channel through these actions.